It's Presley at ActOutGames.com here, and today we're doing a Presley's Perspective. And I actually know what this perspective is going to be about. So this Presley's Perspective is going to be about gender-based casting in film.
Yeah.
So if you guys don't know what a Presley's Perspective is, it's when I usually go blindly into some subject that my dad picked, and we have a conversation about it. This is the only Presley's Perspective we've really done that I actually know what we're talking about.
Yeah, we talked about it a little bit before. We didn't really talk about. We haven't had the conversation yet, but yes. I thought I'd let you know that's what we were going to talk about because it's been getting some traction in social media lately.
Okay.
Right. So there's a new film that's coming out. That is about a man to woman transgender person, and
everyone on Tumblr is very excited about it.
Right, that is a cool thing, and I think in and of itself that's cool. The problem is that it was a cis man, was cast to play that character, and so there's a lot of people that are sort of up in arms about the fact that a cis man is playing a transgendered woman in the film.
What I thought was happening is the other way around, where there was a cis woman playing a female to male.
No, other way around. So the real person is male to female, and the actor that was cast to play it is a cis male.
Okay.
Right? And so the director sort of come out and talked about it a little bit lately, and this just like the director kind of talked about how the character in the film for like 2/3 of the film or more is pre-transition, and so it's a male, and then after the transition, then they're going to obviously have the actor, the cis man, play a woman for the last piece of it, and they sort of said that they were taking that into consideration, but that's a whole other thing. Yeah. So anyway, so there's a lot of rumbling on social media about this, and so I wanted to get your take on it a little bit and talk through it a little bit, and I wanted to kind of break it into 3 buckets, just so you know. Okay. So I think there's 3 good kind of ways to slice this up a little bit. One is just in general, like capabilities. Like, do you think that a cis person is capable of playing a trans person, and vice versa? Is a trans person capable of playing a cis person? So that's just, is there something fundamentally that you should never like cross those wires, or is it something that you can, but you should think about other things too? The second bucket would be, do you think that like trans people should be given like some preferential casting to sort of make up for the fact that they've been disadvantaged for a long time. Very similar to sort of the racism conversation that we had before, right? Institutional racism and affirmative action, and that helping to more level the playing field. It's not about giving somebody preferential treatment necessarily, it's about trying to level the playing field a little bit. So making decisions based on that kind of a consideration as well, right? And then there was a third that was kind of life experiences, like how important are life experience in casting, and that may kind of fall into the first bucket too. Yeah. Right? So, I guess, like I would say, fundamentally off the beginning, like I think that of all of the decisions that could have been made and the way that this could have been handled, I think casting a cis male to do it is probably the worst. Yeah. That like they sort of could have done. Like a
cis female would be kind of okay.
Yeah, it would be better.
It would be better because
I think
that person is a female.
Right.
Like even before the transition, they were a girl.
Yeah, they were always a female, and they just sort of were changing their body to sort of match that, right? Yeah. So I would think that yes, as a woman. So there's this kind of question about how much of a distinction do you want to draw? So in the first bucket, like your capabilities, right? How much of a distinction do you want to draw between a cis woman and a trans woman? Like how different a thing, or is it just a woman? And so any woman can play any woman's role, and a trans woman can play a cis woman, and a cis woman can play a trans woman because they're women. The role is for a woman, and any woman can play that role. I
mean, I think that's okay, but right now we have like little to no trans representation happening. Like there's maybe 1 or 2 people that are trans.
Well, yeah, so that's point 2. So let's just focus on capabilities first, right? Do you think that a cis actor can play a trans role, like is capable of doing it? Like not thinking about the disadvantaged representation piece, but do you think that they're capable of doing it, or do you think there's something fundamental about the experiences of being a trans person that a cis person can never accurately convey on film?
Well, I think that they're capable of doing it. Like, David Tennant is capable of playing a wizard and a Time Lord.
Right.
So, so it's not like, and he doesn't have experiences as a wizard or Time Lord, but he still did the roles really amazingly. So.
Right, that's a really common argument, right? So the thing, like, somebody's playing a football player, they never played football, somebody's doing this, they never did that. So that's acting. Like, people act as different things. But a counter argument to that would be, like, I understand what you're saying, and I agree with that, but I don't necessarily feel the same way about, like, a white actor playing a black character.
Yeah,
like, crossing those racial barriers is different to me.
It is different.
And crossing gender barriers is different. Having a man play a woman role, like a cis male actor play a cis woman in a movie, feels different to me, right?
It does feel slightly different, but like what I thought we were talking about is cis women playing cis.
Well, no, I just mean in general. Like, is how important is gender other than male and female?
Yeah.
Right. Like, because we sort of seem to draw these lines and say that men play men and women play women. Like, we don't cross those boundaries a lot. So how important are the other distinctions around, like, the path that you took to be this woman, if you were trans or if you're fluid, gender fluid, or whatever the route you took to become a woman. Can you play any woman's role, or is there something about that path where your personal path needs to match that character's path?
No, I mean, I think it's perfectly fine that if a, like, person that became a female plays a role of a female, but it's kind of different with a cis person. But, like, the second, why I think it's wrong is kind of in the second bucket right now.
Yeah, so wait, 1 second. We'll go to the second bucket here in a second. So, and I'm really torn on this, right? I would love to hear people's feedback on this, right? Because I don't know. Like, in some ways, I think, well, there are boundaries. I mean, clearly there are boundaries, and you don't cross racial barriers when you're acting, and you don't cross gender barriers, but then you don't want to say that a gender fluid person can only play gender fluid roles. Yeah. Like, that seems ridiculous to kind of say.
A gender fluid, well, the thing was, I think you're trying, I think this happened when we were at NDK. I think you're using the word gender fluid for non-binary and agender people. Because gender fluid people would probably, like, if they were going to play a gender fluid character, then that would be fine. But it seems, it would be kind of hard to do stuff with, like, gender fluid people. Not agender or non-binary, but gender fluid people seems like it would be, like, over a long period of casting, if it was you can only play what gender you are, would be would be kind of hard to do because, like,
very limiting, right?
Yeah, one day they would want to play a male character, and the other day they would want to play a female.
Right. So, like, those repercussions, if you sort of map this all out, become really interesting, right? And, like, I honestly don't know kind of where I come down on some of this stuff, right? So, like I said, I think the second bucket's going to be a little easier conversation, right? But this is kind of the hard part. Like clearly we don't think you have to be an alien to play an alien, right? But most of the time we do think you need to be a man to play a man, right? And whether you're trans or cis. And so I do want to say, though, in the girl that plays the trans character in Sense8, Nomi, I forgot the actress's name, right? But she's phenomenal. Right, I mean, she's just an excellent actress, and I would love to see her in just about anything, right? And so I wouldn't want to kind of say she needs to play trans women. Like, I think she's capable of playing any female role that's available to her, right? And I think, like, a lot of people, there's a saying about, like, don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good, right? And so there are a lot of people with this film, particularly that's coming out now, that they consider it to be, it's like trans erasure, that because they're casting it with a cis man, that the film is just garbage and no one should see it and no one should pay any attention to it and it's terrible, right? And I understand that like emotional reaction to the film, but at the same time,
you need to watch it to see if it's good.
Well, but this seems like, sort of what I hope is sort of a loving and honest portrayal of a person's journey, right? And so, like, at least it's getting it out there and it's getting it into sort of the public discussion and into awareness and consciousness. And it could have been done better. Like, it absolutely could have done better. And it would have been better had they cast a trans actor in the role. But because they didn't, doesn't completely invalidate the entire film to me. Like, I still think there's going to be value in people sort of becoming more comfortable having these conversations and doing this. Yeah?
I was just, like, this thought came into my head, like, just now. But maybe they were trying to get someone who could portray a trans person before a transition, because like it seems like
that's
most
what I'm saying.
actors
That's what
have
the
gone through
actor.
a transition.
That's what the actor has kind of said, or the director has kind of said. That's how he was thinking about it, and he's been honestly talking about it and having good conversations about it, right? But it's still, I think he sees that it was sort of a mistake, right?
Yeah.
And he's trying to kind of explain and talk through, and at least say that he was aware and tried to interact with the community and learn as much as he could, but he didn't learn that thing that he probably should have done that.
Yeah.
So let's talk about point 2 real quick.
Yeah.
So this is more, regardless of sort of the capabilities, like even if you think that a cis actor is capable of playing a trans role and vice versa, should preference be given to a trans actor to play a trans role?
I mean...
Or even a trans actor to play a cis role?
Yeah.
Just because of the underrepresentation historically?
Yeah, the underrepresentation is what... If there's trans people, like trans people have played trans people and cis people as much as cis people have played cis people,
right.
like trans and cis are kind of mixed,
Yeah.
then it wouldn't matter, but right now it does matter.
That's right.
Because there's, like, only, other than real people, I have not seen really any trans representation. I mean, I know that real people
I totally
that are
agree.
trans.
Yeah, and that's a problem, right? So you're not seeing it cross the other way. You're not seeing a ton of trans actors playing cis roles. Like, there's this thing about, oh, it's fine for this cis actor to play this trans role, but you don't necessarily see the other happen a lot.
Yeah.
So the only thing that, one thing, like you said, like if it was sort of crossing, then it would be like a who cares? Like, what does it matter, right? And like the Nomi actress, like part of me wants to be like, what difference does it make? In some ways, because like I would not have known that she was a trans female if I hadn't read like a lot of press about it or articles about it or something like that. Like she was just an actress to me when I was watching the show, and she was really good, and I was super impressed with her. And nothing made me think that she was a trans actress. And so, like, does someone have to come out about their sexuality or their gender status or their gender identity and be public in some way that qualifies them for a role? Like, that piece I'm a little sketchy on too.
Yeah.
Like, if you're a male to female trans actor, then can you just be an actress? Like, do you have to be a trans actress to apply for trans roles, or can you just be an actress and it doesn't matter? Like that piece is a little sketchy to me.
I mean, you should qualify as an actress, but you should be
Like,
given
if people didn't
certain
know
priority.
that you were trans, right?
Yeah.
And you wanted to go out for a trans role, do you have to sort of come out and say, oh yeah, by the way, this is who I am and this is the path that I've been through and stuff like that? Like, that piece is just a little touchy for me.
Yeah.
But I do think that, like, the underrepresentation piece we need to address, and we need to try and get better.
Like, we need representation of all sorts of things. Like, most roles are white, female, white, cis characters.
Yeah.
Are, like, the main thing.
I mean, that's the big problem.
Yes.
That's the real problem, I think,
Yes.
right? And I think that, like, the other thing, too, there was an interesting comment I read the other day on Twitter that I totally agree with, too. And that is, not all trans characters in a show, like, the story doesn't have to be about them being trans.
They just are trans.
Right, that's the character,
Yeah.
right? And maybe, like, that matters a little bit in casting. Like, if the narrative, the story is about their transition and about them being trans, you really should have a trans actor play that role, because they're the only ones that can really grasp it.
But
if they just happen to be trans,
then I think it's okay for cis.
then maybe it's different. Maybe
it's different,
but not necessarily.
It's not. I mean, if it was, like I said, if it was an even playing field, then it would be okay for.
It shouldn't be a big deal that character is trans. Like, in a lot of movies, there should just be, if you have a group movie with like 10 main roles in it, one of them being trans, it like shouldn't be a part. That's the story doesn't have to be about them being trans. I think that's a problem.
And someone actually brought to my awareness, apparently I didn't actually see this because I have missed a few Hunger Games books, but Joe is a trans person, and the story isn't about Joe being trans. Like, it's about all these amazing
See, that's awesome.
about the Hunger Games.
I think that's fantastic.
Yeah.
I think we need more of that, certainly. I think that, like, there's also the case of...
if you ever want to write something with, like, a trans person, then definitely look at Lumberjanes and see how Joe is just a character, and it doesn't matter that she's trans.
The other one's like Orphan Black, which is really interesting because she plays clones. So there's like 12 of her characters, and one of those characters is trans, and 11 of them are cis, right? And so there's a weird thing about how do you cast that? Like, you can't cast that role as a trans actor unless you have a trans actor play all of the roles. And so there's some things you're going to have to do. Like, if there's weird exceptions that are going to pop up, right? But I think we can totally agree that there should be, in general, more trans actors should be getting roles, trans and cis. More trans characters should be written into stories that aren't about
trans.
them being trans. Like, that should just be that represented in film
Yes.
as normal characters, and not, oh my god, this is so amazing, we're going to make a movie about it. It's just that's how they are. Like, I think that would be a huge step forward,
Yes.
right? And like, don't let the fact that they made a mistake in casting this movie ruin this film and the opportunity for this film to have to expose these conversations and make people watch and see and understand and be more familiar with sort of the trans community. Like, that's a message I would like to get out there. It's like, don't let it, just because it's not perfect, don't throw it away and tell people not to see it and refuse to acknowledge it and act like it's not out there, because it could be better, but at least it's starting some conversations.
That's like saying the Percy Jackson movies aren't good movies. They are good movies, they're just not at all like, well, they're like interesting,
they're
good
not good
movies.
movies.
They're not the best movies, but seriously. That's like saying that they are horrible and the worst things ever.
Yeah, they're
of
not the
all
worst
time.
thing ever, but yeah, I wouldn't go so far as to say they were good movies.
Yeah,
The
well,
books are good. I love the
books are
books. They're
good.
really entertaining, but the
But
movies,
if like people start
even like, had I never read the books, I don't know that I would love those movies.
Yeah.
Right, they were okay, but they were
yeah,
great.
but that's like saying that they are
Yeah.
the horriblest, most worst movies just
I get your
because they
point.
made a lot
Yeah.
of mistakes in the.
That's a
they-
bad example, I
yeah.
think, but I get your point.
Yeah, it's like trying. I can't think of too many examples that would have worked in, but
So yeah, like, you know, like I said, the actress from Sense8 should get tons of roles because she's really good. Like, I can't wait for that to come back. I hope it's coming back. I don't even know if it's been renewed, but I hope it is, because it's really good. If you haven't watched that, go watch that. If you're not one of the kids that's watching Presley's channel, that's more adult. Presley doesn't watch that, so that's really good, and I think that that kind of representation is important. And so yeah, more roles that they can play. I don't think that like you need a hard and fast rule that we match those genders, that cis can only play cis and trans can only play trans. I think that's a bad rule to put in place, because it hurts trans actors more than it helps them, probably. But I do think that you should probably give preferential casting towards. There's a lot of really talented trans actors out there, and that they should get. You know, certainly, if your film is about the experience of being trans, you should do that. In the same way that if you're making a movie about football, and there's a really great actor that was a football player, and sort of really understands that and knows that inside out, that's who you should cast, right? Because they bring something, you know, with them to the role. But like, stop making all trans roles about being trans. I think would be a really good thing to do, probably.
Seriously, it's a big problem. I mean, and there are slowly more characters are turning up that are more diverse.
Yeah.
But they are gigantic stereotypes, and the plot is way too focused on them being that.
It's like the Dumbledore thing, right? Where like it doesn't even matter. It's not even important. It's never mentioned. It's like an after the fact. Oh yeah, by the way. Right? Like, that's really cool. Like, that's the way you should be doing this stuff, I think.
Like, you can just write as many characters as you want, and like, it doesn't even matter, like, unless it's about, like, the whole story is about them being this kind of person. Like, if the story is about someone, like, discovering that they're gay, or it's about someone...
Yeah. And those are important too, because you want people to gain awareness. And if you're not even mentioning it and acknowledging it, then people aren't going to gain awareness about it. So you need to have it referenced in there. Like, we'll put a link to your interview with Ashley Mardell at the end of this, because I thought your conversation about writing those characters and you learning that you didn't need to write them differently. That like when you first started, you thought that if you had two characters that were lesbians, you needed to write them like lesbians.
Well, I
and
needed
that
to
you
write
learned over time that wow, that was silly of me to think that, and I need to change that and acknowledge that they're lesbians, but not write them as stereotypical and sort of use these things. Like, that was really insightful of you. I thought that was really great. So we'll put that in the doobly-doo, or we'll make that the
My
end card.
original idea was to have, like, their colors just to all be rainbow. And it's just like, why would I think that ever? I'm like, no, that's not good.
But, I mean, you're learning and growing and open to these kinds of things. It's because of conversations like this can happen. And then this film, as bad a casting decision as it was, is leading to those kinds of conversations. And so for that, like, good on you, man. I hope it's a good movie, and I hope people watch it and people feel better about, trans people and feel more comfortable with it. And next time, I hope they make a better casting decision.
Yeah.
Cool? All right, I think we're done.
So yeah, thank you for watching, and next tomorrow. Bye!
Bye, guys.
That one didn't take